Hello, it's Peter Wright and Kathleen Beauvais in Ontario, Canada, with another exclusive episode for our premium members of the Yakking Show. But first, let me introduce co-host Kathleen from down the road in Waterloo, Ontario. Hi, Kathleen. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Peter. Thank you for that introduction. We always have interesting guests who are experts in their field for our premium members, and today is no exception. We are so privileged to welcome back Ken Cook, who is the co-founder of the Prepared Group. It's a strategy-first marketing consultancy that transforms marketing service providers into trusted marketing advisors. They've created a system that gives marketers a roadmap to help increase business revenue. Ken was a previous guest, and if you haven't watched that episode, I really do urge you to go ahead and watch that. But for the benefit of those who haven't seen you before, Ken, can you give us a little bit about your background before we get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a philosophy major in college, and I went from a cattle farm to a philosophy classroom,
Mhm.
and so I think that kind of my approach to marketing to business is how do we think really clearly and work really hard, and
Mhm.
kind of blending those two things. And I really believe for most business people, growth primarily comes through how you think first. If you've got bad thinking, if you've got bad up here, you're going to really struggle no matter how hard you work. And I think we've all seen these guys who don't seem to work very hard but seem to see a ton
Mhm.
of success. And the more I spend time with those people, it's because they think so clearly. And so that's really what we're trying to bring to the marketing world is how is it that you as a business owner can think really, really clearly and carefully about what you're doing before you work really hard.
Interesting. Very
Yes.
good. And I know exactly what you mean. When I was in the corporate world, we had an accountant in the large corporation I worked for who always had time for everything but got more done than anybody else. And then that was the secret. He thought the right way. And the other secret of his was he didn't get involved in things he didn't need to get involved in. So very good point. But Ken, I know when we were talking a little earlier before we started the show, you've got a really interesting presentation, and I'm going to drop a teaser here. It has something to do with doing unusual things with baseball. So over to you. Take it away.
It's right now the baseball playoffs are going on, and I was kind of musing, what would it take for us, for anyone, to be able to throw a baseball 100 miles an hour? I'm a pretty big guy. I was a semi-pro fighter, uh, strong, work out regularly. I don't think I can throw a baseball 100 miles an hour, right? And so I started talking to a number of my friends, athletes, and I said, hey, how fast can you throw a baseball? And I don't know, maybe 60, 70 miles an hour. And I said, what if I offered you $1 million for you with your arm to throw a baseball 100 miles an hour? And everybody, who's a really smart guy, he says, Ken, I think that there's less than 100 people on the planet who can, with their arm, throw a baseball 100 miles an hour. And I said, I think that the problem is with how you're thinking, not with the ability of the vast majority of the human population to throw a baseball 100 miles an hour. And so if we just pause for a second, I'm going to ask you, Kathleen, if I'm going to give you $1 million right now for you to throw a baseball 100 miles an hour, what are you going to do to get that ball out of your hand going 100 miles an hour?
Well, my first thought would be I'd have to practice a
Okay.
lot
What if you had to do it today?
if I had to do it today.
You had to do it today.
Well, my brain is saying I can't,
Okay.
and that's probably the problem, right? Because I just
It's how you're approaching the problem.
Mhm.
Peter, what about you? If I could
I,
give you
I, I had the luxury of being able to think about it while Kathleen was trying to find an answer. I could do it today.
okay,
I would get on my thoroughbred horse who can do 40 miles an hour, and I'm a reasonably fit, athletic guy who used to play cricket, I could probably throw a baseball at close to 60 miles an hour. So if I threw a baseball at my normal 60 miles an hour from the back of a horse moving at 40 miles an hour, that baseball would hit 100 miles an hour.
Oh, that's
I-
cheating.
Oh, it's
I
not.
don't think it's cheating. What if though? What if, Peter, instead of getting on the back of your horse, you got into your motorized horse and you got that bad boy going up to 90 miles an hour, and then you only had to
Yep.
throw it at, right? Or better yet, what if you were to climb to the top of a reasonably tall building via an elevator,
Mm-hmm.
walk over to the edge, and plunk it off?
That's right.
It would take even less effort, but you would get that ball going 100 miles an hour.
Because it would accelerate at 32 feet per second per second. Correct. So it was 2 or 3 floors that's doing 100 miles an hour.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so here's the picture that I want you guys to have with this. There's 3 different approaches here. Kathleen, you said, well, if I just work hard enough, maybe I can get there. But you know what? I don't know that I can work hard enough to accomplish it.
Right.
And Peter, you said,
Mhm.
you know what? I think I can accomplish this much, and I just need something to fill in the gap.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
And what I would submit to you is the best business owners among us say, how can I get something else to do 99% of the work?
Of the work.
All I have to do is plunk that baseball off a roof.
Right. 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 Yeah.
This,
Mhm.
I believe, is highly illustrative of how most people work in their businesses today.
Mm. Right.
It is the natural tendency of us as entrepreneurs, myself included, to muscle through,
Yes.
work harder, right? If you give it everything you got and you can get that horse going at his top speed, right? In other words, if I can get absolutely perfect conditions, then instead of, let me step back, let me sharpen the axe, let me consider what are the necessary things that would have to happen for this to be easy for me to succeed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Success, and this is not me speaking as a guru, this is me speaking as a business person. Okay, if you want Tony Robbins, you can go listen to Tony Robbins. This is not that. Success should be easy for you as an owner because you have built the system and structure to drive success. If we take an elevator, right? Someone had to invent the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't invent it. Someone had to pay for the elevator. I didn't have to pay for it. Right? Someone has to pay for the electricity. It wasn't me. Right? Someone had to build the building, had to design the building, architect the building, right? Etc. 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 All I had to do was use what was already there
Correct. Correct.
and then take minimal effort myself. And here's the thing. I think a lot of times when it comes to business and marketing specifically, we are trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yes.
We are attempting to say, how in the world can I figure out how this works? Instead of saying, who's already made this work? How do I piggyback off of their success?
Mm-hmm.
Said another way,
Yes.
they're an entire class of fish, right? The most interesting one, I believe, is called a sticky. It's not a cobra, but it kind of sounds like that. I can't remember the second name. It's this fish, and the bottom of it is actually sticky, and it will go to a shark, and it will literally stick itself onto the shark, and then
Right.
as the shark eats, right, it simply opens its mouth and catches the leftovers. It doesn't hunt.
No.
It doesn't kill. Right? It literally doesn't even swim. It sticks itself to the shark and it lets the
shark.
shark do all the work. Yet it reaps the benefit. And so as we think about these examples, the first question I have for you guys today is, in your business right now, today, Where are you putting in maximum effort instead of taking advantage of someone else's road, method, platform, system, structure, existing business that would make your life so much easier?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you can figure out those places, and there are many for each of our businesses, regardless of what you do, it's then through that strategic thinking that you're actually going to start to see real growth. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's no longer about how much time you're spending. I know so many entrepreneurs, and I was the most guilty of this. At the height of our agency, we had 12 employees, 2 offices, okay? 7-figure plus business. I was working 80 plus hours a week. Right? Now, and by the way, I was taking home $4,000 to $5,000 a month. $60,000 a year, 80 hours a week. Doesn't make sense.
No.
No.
But I said, I just got to muscle through.
Mm.
And what I would submit to you is here's what's interesting. Our business has 4 employees, and each of our employees makes substantively more per person from an income perspective than we ever did before.
Mm-hmm.
And as owners, we make substantively more. Right? And it's not because we have worked harder. I probably, if I'm being really honest, I maybe work 30 hours a week. Maybe 40, but probably less. I'm done with work by 4 o'clock each day. I take my kids to jujitsu every single day. Right? I enjoy that time. I enjoy being able to be present. And again, I'm not Tony Robbinsing people. I'm saying that if you can think about your business in a different way, it can produce more with less work.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. And here's the thing. We often think about this from an operations perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We say operationally, well, let's figure out how we delegate more effectively, or let's figure out how do we create a better operational system or a better operational process. Right? But what we don't typically do, and very, very few businesses do this, they don't typically think about this from a marketing perspective. Okay. And so what I would like to do kind of in the last little bit here that we've got is I'd like to walk you guys through a model.
Oh, yes, please.
And ask you to think about 8 specific areas of your marketing, at least 2 or 3 of which you probably don't think of as marketing. And ask you exactly, I'd like you to write down for yourself today, what systems, structures, and processes do I have in these areas? Where am I really strong and where am I really weak? Okay. So we're going to start with attraction.
Mm-hmm.
When we think about marketing, most people think about attraction. How do I get people to know who I am? How do I get leads in the door? How do I identify new prospects, etc.? Okay. And so as you think about your attraction systems, I'd like you to just on your piece of paper, draw 2 columns. What's working and what's not working. Okay. And those 2 columns are going to be your key to say, as I bring people in, and I want you to write down every activity that you do, what's bringing clients in effectively and what is not bringing clients in effectively. What is actually generating lead flow? Okay. And here's the real key. So you write down each of these. You've got your 2 columns. If there is a documented system, keyword being documented, written down, put a star next to it.
Mm-hmm.
If there is not a documented system, put an empty checkbox. So like a box, little square, Leave it empty. Okay. These check boxes are where you begin,
Okay. Okay.
right? What are the things that I'm doing that are bringing people in? But because I don't have a system, here's what happens. You're on the roller coaster. It works and then it doesn't work, and it works and it doesn't work. I have time for this. I don't have time for this. Right? The number one killer for businesses from an attraction perspective is inconsistency. Okay. That inconsistency is often caused by other pieces within the business, especially fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
If you can build that system where you say, look, I need to do X amount of effort every single day, every single week. Right? So if you've got an attraction system that is cold call 10 people today, well, I can tell you how successful your attraction is by how many days a week you're making those 10 calls.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's the piece that we want to look at is there a system? Is there a process? How do I identify who I'm calling? Right? How do I log that I've made these calls? How do I not call the same people again? Or how do I call the same people again? What's my cadence, et cetera, and so forth? Is there a system? Is there a documented process for how that happens? And if you're not sure how to document a process, I'm going to recommend a book. It's a very easy book written by a guy by the name of Sam Carpenter. He's out of Bend, Oregon, called Work the System. Great book. And I love the book because it is so simple and he gives you a model for how the heck do I document a system. Okay. And just as a
Okay.
little teaser, you document it however the heck you want to document it. You're in charge. It's not how I tell you to document it. It's not how Dr. Phil tells you to document it. It's how do you decide this is sufficient documentation for me and my team to understand the activity. That could be written, that could be video, that could be audio. I don't care. It's not my business. It's your business. Right? Look at those systems. That's attraction. Okay. Questions that you guys have on attraction? If not, we're going to move on to the next one.
Plenty of questions. I think let's move on to the next one.
Okay. The next step is capture.
Yep.
Okay. Really think about this with me. If I came and I handed you in your business today 100 leads, do you have a system in place to capture the details, the critical details, i.e., you must know what the critical details are, but do you have a process in place to capture and store those critical details?
I can answer that one. We actually do.
Beautiful. And if you've got that piece, do you have the means by which to segment the leads that you've captured, either by quality or some other necessary sorting feature?
We do, but it's subjective. B, it's not documented. So C, it definitely needs improving.
Perfect. So you guys know what you need to do, right? Is you've hit the exact pieces. It's got to be documented. It's got to be objective, right? And here's why it has to be objective. Okay. Who should be doing this? Not you. I don't care who does it, but it's not you.
Yep.
Right? That's the trick here is by creating objective processes, it enables you to pass the work on to a lower dollar worker. Does that make sense?
It does indeed. It does indeed.
Okay. I have a friend who runs a multi-million-dollar business. He has very few employees. Okay. The employees that he has are absolute high-end subject matter experts. The rest of the team is $5 to $10 an hour workers in the Philippines and India. And he gives them really clear documented systems and processes. And then he has other higher dollar but overseas workers whose sole job it is to check the performance
Of those ones. Yeah.
of the other one,
Oh, wow.
right? In other words, think about this. Like he said this to me, and I was like, dude, you are so much smarter than I am. You're telling me that you're getting a $10 worker to check the work of five $5 workers, and you're doing all of this for a tenth of the price that would cost for you to get those $5 workers in the United States.
Yeah.
Brilliant. In other words, this is not low value work,
No.
but this is the skill work. Okay, repetitive, more menial tasks
Mhm.
that do not require specialist information,
Right.
right? Have a lower dollar worker do the work. If you as the owner, like really think about this. When was the last time you saw the McDonald's franchisor or franchisee mopping the floors in the restaurant?
Yeah. That's right.
Now, will he do it if it's absolutely necessary? Absolutely he will,
Of
because
course.
it's his
Yeah.
business. But you know what he should do first? He should figure out who's doing it, how to train them to do it, and how do I make sure that if they can't, that there's someone else who can.
Someone in the backup. Yep. Yep.
Right? Because again, I would rather have if I've got to get floors mopped, I want to get a $15 an hour, $10 an hour worker to do that. And if I can't do that, I want to get a $15 or $20 an hour worker to do that. And there's going to be a number of steps that happen before I, as the owner, have to step in and do that.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
So this absolutely makes perfect sense what you're saying. But what do you say to those businesses that are starting up, don't have the resources to hire a $10 an hour person because that's, they're just starting up and they're doing absolutely everything themselves.
Yep.
How do you address that?
You have to change how you think.
Okay.
First step is change how you think. You have to be okay and realize that for a period of time, you are the $10 worker.
Mm-hmm.
Many people that I have seen, especially coming out of the corporate world, who are used to a system and a structure, do not see themselves as the $10 an hour worker.
Mm-hmm.
And so they struggle to do the $10 an hour task.
Mm-hmm.
And so there may be many cases where if you're a solopreneur, you're right, you are that $10 an hour worker until you can afford to not be.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the $10 an hour worker, that's okay. But you need to make sure that you have set aside time to take off your apron, so to speak, and to put on your owner's hat and ask the question, how is my $10 an hour worker performing?
Mm-hmm.
What system does my $10 an hour worker have? One of the traps that gets people caught into hobbies and not businesses is that they never put on the owner's hat to build the business.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That said in Michael Gerber language, they're too busy working in the business to work on the business.
Work on the business. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right?
But I got to interject here to reinforce the point you're making that people coming out of the corporate world, when I lived in Africa, where conditions were somewhat different, and I left the corporate world where in those days I had a secretary and a marketing department of 40 odd people. So I didn't do any of the $10 work, right? Then I started on my own business, and fortunately I was able to employ a number of people that did the $10 work. And then I transitioned into farming and I employed 180 people to do the $10 work. And then I came to Canada and I had nothing to start a new business. And I had the mindset of, I can't do this because I haven't got a secretary or 100 workers in this. And I had to go out and work as a farm worker for a short period to start getting back on my feet. And that cured me of that thinking, right? So that motivated me to start thinking, yes, I've got to do the $10 an hour work right now, but it's only for a short time until I can afford to get someone else to do that work. And but it's a trap. I hear what you say. It's when you have that background, it's a big trap.
It is. The other side of this trap, because keep in mind, there are holes on either side of the road here.
Yes.
The
Yes.
side is, well, I'm free. It doesn't cost me any extra to do this, so I might as well. You know what it costs you? it costs you your ability to do high value work,
Mhm. Yeah.
work that only you can do. There are things in our business that my business partner David is the only person who can do. There are things in my business that I'm the only person who can do. And so we actually set up structures and systems to say, what are the things that only I'm going to do? What are the things that only he's going to do? What are the things that one of the two of us need to do? And what are the things that neither of us need to do? And what's interesting is me more so than him. I get caught into this. Well, I'm just going to do it myself. Okay. And there are definitely times where he's come to me and said, why are you doing this? Even more so, there are activities that I am banned from doing in my own business. Right? 3 years ago, David came to me and he said, Ken, you are no longer allowed to build websites. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I am banning you from building websites. And I said, but I can build websites. He goes, I know you can. I need you to be doing other things that only you can do. Anyone else here can go build a website. Not anyone else here can go do this or this or this. That's only you. And you're abandoning those tasks to do something that anyone can do.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. So there's traps on both sides, and you've got to navigate that very carefully. And if you do not have a partner to hold you accountable, you have to either find an outside mentor or figure out a structure for yourself to hold yourself accountable to those pieces.
Yeah. And you got to be disciplined, because I've done the same thing, spent hours building websites when I should have paid someone else to do it, because it's fun and it's learning a new skill and all that. But it's not something you should, as a business owner, you should be doing.
Right. Because you're actually losing money in doing many of those tasks. And we don't think of those terms because we think we're saving money.
That's right.
That's right.
But we're not. We're actually losing money. And that's the hardest thing is to say, wait, by doing an activity that's free, I'm losing money, because we have a very poor eye, most of us, I know I certainly do, to how an activity translates to money 30 days from now. Because in doing the quote free activity today, I don't lose the money today.
No.
But paying someone to do it, I do lose that today.
That's right.
I struggle, and just honestly, I struggle to see, well, how is this going to change things in 30 days? Right? Oh, our balance is going to be lower in 30 days because I didn't go do 20 sales calls because I was too busy doing a free activity to save us money. And so that's where you have to create balance, and you have to think very, very carefully. And you need to step back and say, what actually makes sense here versus where are my emotional attachments? Where are my personal attachments? Where am I deriving value? I was talking to somebody recently, and he said, I don't really like doing the online dating thing, but I do like to go onto the online dating apps and be validated by all of these people who swipe right on me. Okay. Like the self-awareness of that. How many of us as business owners have that level of self-awareness? I'm doing this because it validates me, not because it makes me money.
Yep.
You are free to make that choice. But if you're making that choice, that better be a conscious choice, not an unconscious choice. Okay. So lead capture, how do you get the information? Where do you put it? How do you segment those people so that we can access the correct people at the correct time when we need to? Okay. From there, our next step is lead nurture.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm going to divide nurture into two parts. Okay. The first part is what I call short-term nurture. Now, for most small businesses that have a typical sales cycle, professional services, et cetera, and so forth. Okay. If you're in industrial sales, I'm not talking to you right now. Okay. If you're in professional services, most of the time your sales cycle is 30 days or less.
Yeah.
And short-term nurture is a 30-day or less process. So from the day you meet someone to the day that they're going to sign a contract, it's going to happen within 30 days. If it doesn't, they're moving to long-term nurture. Okay. So this short-term nurture is all about people who are ready to move quickly and buy now. How do I quickly build trust? How do I quickly build authority? How do I quickly build rapport? in order to start a business relationship. Long-term nurture, which is typically 3 months or longer, 3 months to 21, 25 months, somewhere in there, 3 months, 2 years, let's say. This is all about how do I stay in front of people who are a good fit for me, but not necessarily a good fit for me today. They're too big, they're too small, they have the wrong priority. But 6 months from now, a year from now, 18 months from now, one of those things might change. Okay. I have a good friend, his name is Eli. Eli is a fantastic marketer, and he has a long-term nurture sequence that lasts for 5 years.
Wow.
5 years.
And he jokes that he could die tomorrow and have a system that keeps making sales for the next 5 years.
5 years. Wow.
I don't think it's really a joke.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But that's got to be a big ticket item.
It's not. He sells
Not?
a lot of small ticket items.
Really? Okay.
And here's the trick. None of the nurture there was done on the same day. You know how long it
Okay.
took him to create 5 years worth of nurture? 5 years.
5 years.
Oh,
He wrote 1 email a week for 5 years,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And at the end of it, now it's evergreen.
Yeah.
Time it there's nothing that dictates that this has to be done. There's nothing that says I need to do, 18 months of nurture in 3 days. I've got to get that all written. You can do it in 18 months. You can do it just in time. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. No one's going to know the difference.
No.
So whether you do
They're
it all
not.
today or you do it as you go, both are perfectly acceptable. And I want to give you guys just a little insight into how do I talk about what I do for 18 months. Okay. If you got that same piece of paper, flip it over for me.
Mhm.
I want you to give me a box, good sized box.
Okay.
Okay. And in it, the first thing you write is month. Okay. So we'll start with January. So for January, we're going to have 3 items. What's the theme?
Yeah.
Okay. What are the subjects?
Right.
What's the call to action? Okay. So Peter, you've got a book on adversity right behind you.
Yep.
Okay. Let's say that our theme for January is adversity.
Right.
Are there 4 angles on adversity that you could
Oh,
talk
yes.
about?
Easy. Yep.
Easy. Hear that, everyone. He said easy, right?
Mhm.
You then talk about those 4 things. That's 1 email a week. You have the same call to action. Here's what I want you to do in light of this. And you've just done a full month's worth of nurture.
Absolutely.
Email a week. And you know what? Knowing how much you know about adversity, maybe you could write 8 things, and that's 2 emails a week. And that would be easy as well.
Mhm.
And then next month, we're going to choose a different subject or a different theme.
Mhm.
And then we're going to start with 4 subjects. And you know what? You may find, for this month, I actually need to write 6 or 8 or 10 because I have so much to say on this topic. Right? By breaking it down into chunks in this fashion, and you just repeat that for the entire year. Okay. Theme, subjects, call to action. Theme, subjects, call to action. You've got your long-term nurture done.
Absolutely. And you can link that, those weekly emails, you can link to other resources without diluting the effect of the call to action. So you can expand on it in a blog post or a video or whatever, right?
All of them. And by the way, nothing says that your long-term nurture has to be email. Could it be physical mail? Could it be videos you send out? There's all kinds of ways you can do this. Don't get trapped in this has to be an email sequence thing. It doesn't. Okay.
Right.
One other point that I'll make about long-term nurture is this. You must, as you're building your long-term nurture, ask yourself one very critical question. how do I pull people out of my long-term nurture and put them back into my sales process?
Mhm.
If all you do is build a long-term nurture sequence with a series of calls to action with no intent to ever say, oh, they've done these things, it's time to put them back in the selling process, you've missed the point of long-term nurture.
Yeah.
So what are the conditions that would occur that would allow you to push them back into a sales process? Oddly enough, our next step after long-term nurture is your sales process.
Mm,
Okay. And much like you did with this first step, let's go through and ask a couple of critical questions. Do we have a documented sales process? And by this, what I mean is there are stages or steps where you know I need to get them to say yes to this, and then yes to this, and then yes to this. And if they say yes to all of those things, they will then buy. Now that could happen in a one-call close. That could happen over a series of emails. That could happen over the course of a website. That could happen in a lot of ways. But fundamentally, let's go back to the definition of what sales is. Selling is the persuasion to a belief or idea.
Mhm.
If you don't know what beliefs or ideas you are persuading people to, you are not selling. At best, you're guessing and pitching.
Yep. Yeah.
And so step back and ask, what are the beliefs that someone has to have in order for this to make sense? Whatever I'm selling, what do they need to believe about themselves, about me, about the product, about the results they're going to get? And if you know those things, you can craft a sales process.
Mhm.
You can craft a process that says, I'm going to persuade them that I'm the right vendor, that their problem is as big or bigger than they think. The solution will give them the results that they want, etc. There's a lot more we can touch on that, but let's just kind of keep it simple.
Mhm. That makes a lot of sense. And it's so important to hear this from people like yourself, because again, we get consumed by the day-to-day working in the business, and we need these reminders all the time.
mhm.
So at this point, most people say to me, Ken, I just sold the client. What other marketing can there be? And if you're
Plenty.
thinking that, I would like to encourage you to realize that marketing is not simply the process of getting someone ready to buy.
No.
It's not that. Marketing is much larger than that. Because the goal of marketing, at least as I see it, is to take someone who does not know you
Mhm.
over the course of time and events, turn them into someone who is an absolute raving fan.
Mhm.
Quote the great Peter Shankman, someone who is a zombie loyalist.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. They're going to do whatever you say to do because they are so loyal to you, and they're going to do it without thinking.
Right. And they won't consider anybody else because they know you to be the expert that you are. Okay. Right.
Okay. But not just the expert, they have the relationship.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay?
So
That's
the,
well,
this is the people who queue up in freezing cold outside an Apple store to get the latest iPhone, right?
Right.
exactly. Okay. So think about this for a second. Have you ever had an experience where you go and buy something from somebody and they treat you like garbage as soon as they get your money?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes. How do you feel about those people?
Not very good.
No, and I
Not
wouldn't be
very
buying
good.
from them again.
So here's the thing. Most business owners, they think of the first sale
Mhm.
as the wedding
Yep.
instead of what it really is, the first date.
Yep.
Okay. Your onboarding process, the process by which somebody transitions from I've paid you money to I've gotten my first result, that onboarding process is one of your most central marketing processes. If you do not make people feel like they are incredibly valuable, they will look somewhere else. And so, simply asked, what is your onboarding process and what is it designed to make people feel? Do you know? Have you considered? More than that, how can we make the process easier for them? And I'm going to give kind of a simple example.
Mhm.
Here in the Pacific Northwest, we have a large local chain, right? They now cover a lot of states. But when I was a kid, they were very local. Chain called Les Schwab Tires. Okay. And it used to be that you would drive into a Les Schwab Tires parking lot and an attendant would literally come running over to your car and they would greet you as you were stepping out, or they would open your door for you.
Wow.
How can I serve you today? Welcome to Les Schwab. And they would walk you in and they would get your information. And then they would take you to the waiting room where they have hot coffee and popcorn and TVs. Right? And they would get your stuff done while you waited. Or they would say, if you're going to come back, we'll give you a call at this time. Right? You should be done by here, here, and here. And you were.
Mm-hmm.
They had a process by which to take someone from, I've pulled into the parking lot. By the way, nobody pulls into the parking lot of a tire shop to not buy tires.
No, you're right.
Like, I'm not showing up here and then walking away with no tires if they've got the inventory that I intend to buy.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, how many of us truly know enough about tires to know what we want to buy? It's a very small segment, right? So they know the sale's been made. Now it's just a question of how do we make sure that they feel valued through the process? And so ask yourself, what is my onboarding process? How does my customer feel? And what can I do to make this process even easier for them? Okay. We use a system called cardsforclients.com. And we have welcome boxes that go out to every new client. And in that welcome box, it's an automated process. It has a mug with their name on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then a rotating number of other small gifts.
Hmm.
But all of them have a prepared group mug with their name on it.
Wow.
Okay. And it comes in a nice box. And you know what? Everybody who gets this calls me and says, thank you so much. And then you
Yeah.
see them on calls and they're drinking out of the mug.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they're talking to you about this cup. And the point is not, we're doing this to manipulate them. We're doing this because it's a small token of us saying, we actually care about you as a person.
Mhm.
We
Right.
care about you as a person. Okay. That's onboarding,
Yeah.
Right.
or what we like to call transition with ease.
Mm.
From there, our next step is what we call surprise, delight, and wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Surprise,
If-
delight, and wow.
Surprise, delight, and wow.
Okay.
Okay. Step one. If I come to you and what do I have around here? Okay. These are attachments for my weed eater. They're weed eater string.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
If I come to you to buy one of these and you say, I've got a 10-pack for $25, okay, and I say, great, and I give you my $25 and you give me 10 of them, you have not surprised me. You have not delighted me. You have not wowed me. Done what you said you were going to do. Okay. Now,
Yep.
as a business, you must, to be ethical and honest, do what you say you're going to do. Do not confuse doing what you say you're going to do with delighting your customer. Okay. My wife orders this this hair refresher spray because she has curly hair. Okay, from a place called Which I Love Your Hair. And the lady who runs the shop, her name is Bridget. And in every box she adds in, their motto is crystals, not chemicals. They use like natural quartz from their property to emulsify the liquid. She puts an extra handful of quartz or whatever rocks it is in the box. And then she also always includes a costume piece of jewelry, a necklace,
Wow.
Oh, nice.
bracelet, etc.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, some years ago, my wife's beloved dog died, and she posted this on Instagram, and Bridget saw it. And less than a week later, Courtney gets a package in the mail with a condolence note from Bridget, with a dog charm bracelet,
Wow.
and a full package of which I love your hair things.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
That is,
surprising.
oh, for sure.
My goodness.
That's surprising. It's meaningfully surprising, unexpected, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's delightful because you can surprise people without delighting them,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
You can delight them without surprising them, right?
Yep.
Lomg, when I was a kid, used to run a free beef promotion. If you come buy tires, they're going to give you, I think it was 20 pounds of frozen beef. True
Wow.
story. The customer delight without surprise because you know that you're going to get this, right?
Yeah.
But there's also wow.
Mhm.
And the first two serve the third, with the aim being, how is it that you make that customer feel like you care about them? And I know that there are experiences that you guys have,
Mhm.
and you who are listening have, where someone in a business has made you feel valuable as a
Mhm.
person.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when we spoke before, I told you about Leatherman. The way that they go the extra mile, 15 years after that product was purchased, right? And it's not a big ticket item. Unbelievable.
That piece, when you put that into your business, is the bedrock on which you build customer relations.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something you do one time any more than having a conversation with your friend, spouse, etc. is something you do one time,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
right? But by creating a culture where you are over delivering, a culture where you are communicating consistently, we care about you as a customer, as a person, you now have the foundation for the last two steps, which
Mm-hmm.
are upsell,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
That place that treated you really well. I'm guessing if Leatherman sent you an offer for a more expensive knife, $150 knife, you would feel a lot more confident in buying that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And as I said before, if I want to buy one for a relative as a present, there's only one brand I'm going to buy. Right?
Right. So that's upsell.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And just like we talked about sales process, right? Everything else, is there a process by which we structure our upsell? Right. If you sell
Mm-hmm.
them, hey, if I sell them, this little packet of string, what's the other things that they should sell me with this? Right.
Yes.
You know who's the
Yes.
master of this? If you're unclear as to what I'm talking about, the master of this is Amazon.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, all the
People who
time.
buy
Yeah.
this also bought,
Yeah.
Yes.
right? It's structurally built in your business. What's the next sale that they need or
Mm-hmm.
should get
Mm-hmm.
based upon what they've already purchased? And do you have a roadmap to sell them the next things? If you don't, well, that's a serious problem because you do not
Yep.
have a method by which you're taking the value that you're building in your onboarding process and your surprise, delight, and wow processes, and then moving that into how do I extract more money from them? How do I serve them more? And then, most importantly, how do I get referrals from them?
Yes.
Okay. And so, everybody, when I talk about marketing, I hear this a lot. I don't need marketing. We work solely off referrals. Okay. And I'd like you guys to consider a question. You who are listening, Kathleen, Peter, you guys consider this too.
Mhm.
Do you have a systematic, documented process by which you extract referrals from every customer?
We can answer yes, we do. We just worked on refining that in the last week, and we think we've got it right. Kathleen?
Well,
is it
yes,
documented?
we're talking
Is it
about
written down?
testimonials, I think there, Peter, but yeah.
Well, okay. Sorry, testimonials. I'm getting my
I don't mean testimonials here. I mean
No, I know you
actual
do.
roles.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay, and here's why this is so important. For most of us, referrals just happen.
Mhm.
Okay. Crazy thought. What if you put into your contracts a required number of annual referrals? If you had a great onboarding system, you had a great surprise, delight, and wow system, you do what you're going to say you're going to do. Is that a burden for them?
No,
No?
probably not.
Probably not.
No.
Right?
That's
You can
good.
you
Good point.
can have interesting, creative ways by which you require referrals. There are businesses out there that
Yeah.
in order to work with them, they require referrals.
Yeah.
Okay. Or they will fire you as a client.
Yeah.
Okay. That works if you've got a process to get them to the point where they're ready to do so. And then you have a process by which you then extract those referrals.
Hmm.
So if you and I were to go join like a BNI chapter,
That's right. You have to
I
do.
was
Yep.
just thinking of BNI.
it would say there's a certain number of actions you must take or you're out.
That's right.
Okay. Well, you know what? If you want to work with us, there's a certain number of actions you've got to take or you're out.
Mhm.
And part of that is because there must be a level of equality in the give and take within every relationship. If you're going to truly over deliver, you're going to go above and beyond, you're going to go the extra mile. It only makes sense for you to work with clients who are willing to do the same.
Do the same. Right.
And I highly recommend that you are upfront with clients about this.
Mhm.
I want you to know, and I don't typically do this in the sales process necessarily. I do this post sale most often.
Mhm.
I want you to know that we work very differently. We're going to take care of you and do things for you in ways that most other people do not. Okay. However, that's going to require some things from you. And these are the things that it's going to require from you.
Hmm.
And that as a function transitions your business.
Yeah. Must
Because
do.
now, think about this. If you knew for every client I have, I get an average of 3 referrals a year and I close 66% of those. So for every client I get 2 more.
Two more. Yeah.
Well, you and I would be very darn happy with that.
That's for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Wow. Yeah.
And so it's
Very good.
asking, how can I structurally do this? The one thing I'll add is I tend to, not universally, but tend to dislike paying customers money, cash for referrals.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Many people think this is a great thing. I personally tend to dislike it because I dislike it for the same reason I don't pay my friends if I have to move. If I've got to move houses and you're going to come help me move and load the house, I'm not writing you a check
Hmm.
because I pay you in other currency, in relational capital.
Right.
Same thing I believe happens in business.
Hmm.
And so as we look at kind of the structure and system of marketing that takes us from how do we attract to how do we extract referrals, the question is, to what degree are these systems in place, documented, and then to what extent do we review and improve them?
Hmm.
Mhm.
That's a
Because
big one.
phase 1 is getting them, right? And typically phase 2, which runs parallel with phase 1, you're doing it at the same time, is we're improving these. We're figuring out where does this not work and how do I fix it? It's not just, hey,
Mhm.
let's go throw this all down, let's go write everything. And now it is Moses's tablets from the mountain. We're not going to touch them.
No.
Right? No, these things get changed and modified as our customers change, as our business changes, as the market changes. as we grow and develop, we learn more and more.
Absolutely. And there's other external influences, politics, legislation, natural disasters, all sorts of things mean that we need to review these all the time.
Yep. And so as we look at marketing and we talk about marketing systems, marketing process, this is what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Once this is in place, your business will, by necessity, scale.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you have the necessary building blocks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have the necessary preconditions for that to occur.
Hmm.
And that's it. I wish it were more complicated than that.
No, that is excellent.
That's excellent. Absolutely. But Ken, before we let you go, you're in the process of writing a book, are you not?
Yes.
You
Yep.
want to would you like to share what that's about?
Yeah. So we are working on a book right now. Tentatively, I think we're thinking about the title being something around the indoctrination into marketing strategy.
Okay.
And the idea of it is most business owners, most marketers don't understand what we mean when we say organizational strategy, much less marketing strategy. And so we want to start to demystify strategy, and we want to make strategy a central point for organizational growth. And so really looking at how can you as an organization start to move in a strategy first perspective. And so we were going to go with strategy first as a book title, but it was already taken. So
Mm-hmm.
we're still working on that. But that's a lot of the stuff that we talked about today are kind of some of the concepts therein.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get even deeper with more examples and hopefully with some better content to really edit down this to make it quick,
Mm-hmm.
make it easily understandable, and most importantly, and this is the thing I think that we're spending a lot of time on. How do we make this implementable quickly and easy by a business owner?
Right.
Right.
I'm tired of reading books with great ideas that I can't execute.
Yeah.
Right.
How do we give them the ability to understand how do I start the execution process?
And
Very good.
when will people be able to buy this book?
Hopefully before the end of the year.
Oh, very good.
Wonderful.
Maybe.
We will watch out for that.
Yes.
I'll make sure to let you guys know, and we'll get some copies out to y'all. Our last book we wrote in about 3.5 months, and so hopefully we're done here before the end of the year.
Good. Excellent.
I'd be very pleased if we're done before the end of the year.
Now, I've got something important for our viewers and listeners who've been listening to your words of wisdom and your expertise. And there's some real jewels in what Ken's been telling us today. You need to explain to them how they can benefit from this directly, even before your book's available, because you don't deal directly with business owners, right? You license your systems out. So what's your advice to someone who wants to learn more of what you've been doing, of your work?
Absolutely. If what we've been talking about today is interesting to you, we do not work directly with business owners, which is why I'm so happy to kind of give this all away. But we do have a number of licensees, both in the US and Canada. We have a couple of them in Calgary, in fact. We would love to make some introductions and let you guys meet some of these business owners and marketers who would love to talk about how they can serve you guys and how they can help really transform your business, your life, and your family for generations to come.
And the best way people could do that, business owners could do that, is to get onto your website, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Feel free to get onto our website, thepreparedgroup.com, or because I know this is private, you're not going to make it all public.
No.
My personal email is ken@thepreparedgroup.com. KEN@thepreparedgroup.com. Shoot me an email. I'm more than happy to make some personal introductions, figure out what you need, figure out what's going to make the most sense for y'all.
Excellent. That's very valuable. Thank you very much, Ken.
Ken, what
Absolutely.
an honor it has been to have you on our show once again. It's I'm just absorbing all the information that you've just run through, and I think I'm going to rewatch this interview just to listen to those words once again. But thank you
Right.
so very, very much for
Excellent.
being on our show.
I love being here. You guys are fantastic. I love what you guys do.
Thank you.
Definitely send people over the podcast pretty constantly. So thank you for having us once again.
Thanks,
Excellent.
Ken.
Thank you, Ken. And we welcome you all of your suggestions for the type of expert guest you'd like to see on our show. If you have any suggestions, we would love to hear from you. And don't hesitate to reach out to either Peter or myself. And until next time, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Okay, goodbye.